General A. Title and Short Title 1. 01 The full title of this document is Restricted Area Traffic Directive applicable to motor vehicles, pedestrian pass holders and mobile equipment at Montreal's international airports. 02 This directive may be referred to or shortened as one or the other of the following: Restricted Area Traffic Directive for Montreal's Airports, Traffic Directive, or RATD, DCZR. B. Interpretation 03 For the purposes of this directive, the following definitions shall apply, unless they are incompatible with the context. Aéroports de Montréal, ADM, means a not-for-profit corporation constituted under the laws of Canada. Aircraft means any heavier-than-air aircraft, airplane, or helicopter, whether power-driven or non-power-driven. Aircraft safety area means a secure area used for aircraft parking and within which vehicle traffic is prohibited whenever an aircraft is being moved. Aircraft stand means a designated area on the apron intended for the parking of an aircraft for the purpose of emplaning and deplaning passengers, and providing requisite ground services. Airport means one or other of Montreal Pierre Elliott Trudeau International Airport or Montreal, Mirabel International Airport. Airport Patrol means the ADM department responsible for enforcing this directive. Airport traffic means all traffic within the movement area of an airport. Airside means the area of an airport reserved for movements relating to the operation of aircraft and to which public access is generally prohibited. Airside Vehicle Operator's Permit, AVOP, means a document issued by the Administration and Permits Office, APO, to operate a vehicle airside. Animal means any domestic animal or pet, including poultry. APO is the abbreviation used to designate the Administration and Permits Office, which is a section of Airport Patrol. Apron means that portion of an airport, other than the maneuvering area, designed for the emplaning and deplaning of travelers, the loading and unloading of cargo, aircraft refueling, routine or technical servicing, de-icing, aircraft parking, as well as the movement of aircraft, vehicles, and pedestrians necessary for the execution of the aforementioned tasks, including interior baggage sorting areas. Air de Traffic, Apron Management Section, AMS, means a section responsible for controlling aircraft and vehicle movements on the airport apron. Apron traffic means all aircraft, vehicles, and pedestrians using the apron of an airport. ATR is the abbreviation used to designate airport traffic regulations. Baggage sorting area means an area, normally located inside a terminal or building, where checked baggage having been accepted by an air carrier is directed for the purpose of transport by such carrier. Commercial passenger vehicle means any vehicle used or designed for the paid transport of persons, including motor vehicles owned by airline companies or crew transport service vehicles. Controlled airport means an airport equipped with an air traffic control unit. Controlled area means an area not covered under federal regulations with respect to which access and surveillance are determined by Airport Patrol. Designated intersection means a location on the apron bordered by surface markings at which vehicles may cross an aircraft taxiway. Directional projector means a light signal directional projector used by the control tower in order to control airport traffic when it is not possible to communicate by radio. Directive refers to this document, including all appendixes and amendments hereto, as well as all corrections and modifications as ADM, at the discretion thereof, may make from time to time. Electric vehicle for mobility impaired passengers means any electric, cart-type vehicle used for the purpose of adapted transport inside buildings but not in baggage rooms. Employer means a corporate body employing individuals who are holders of permanent airport security passes, including AVOP holders. Equipment means any vehicle or towed mobile device used for airport or runway maintenance, or designed for the maintenance, repair, or servicing of aircraft, including test equipment and cargo handling equipment. Equipment staging area means the area outside the aircraft safety area which is used for the temporary staging of aircraft refueling and maintenance vehicles and equipment. FOD, foreign object damage, means any damage attributed to a foreign object that can be expressed in physical or economic terms which may or may not degrade the product's required safety and/or performance characteristics. Glide path transmitter means that part of the instrument landing system which provides the pilot with the correct angle of descent on final approach through to touchdown on the runway. Ground control means the control tower operational position to which a controller is assigned to provide as follows: A. Authorization and instructions pertaining to airport traffic. And B. All information, upon receipt, as is relevant to traffic within the airport perimeter. Holder means a physical person to whom an AVOP, RAIC, key or temporary security pass has been issued. Holding bay means a defined area where aircraft can be held or bypassed with a view to facilitating the efficient surface movement of aircraft. Holding point means the safe holding area for an aircraft or vehicle used for towing aircraft. International driving permit means a document allowing a person who holds a valid driving permit issued by one country to drive a vehicle in a foreign country. Intersection means the location where a roadway, runway, or taxiway crosses another roadway, runway or taxiway. Key means any instrument issued by the APO for the purpose of providing access to a public or private restricted area. Loading area means any portion of the apron designated as such by a sign or surface markings, which is accessible to the traveling public for the purpose of emplaning and deplaning, including areas for charter aircraft. Localizer transmitter means that part of the instrument landing system which is designed to assist the pilot in remaining properly aligned with the runway during descent and on approach. Maneuvering area means the portion of an airport normally used for the takeoff and landing of aircraft as well as aircraft movements in relation thereto, but excluding the apron. Motor vehicle means a car, snowmobile, truck, bus, or any other vehicle or self-propelled device on which or by means of which a person or object may be transported, carried, or moved along the ground, including any machine designed to derive support in the atmosphere from reactions against the Earth's surface of air expelled from such machine. Movement area means the parts of an aerodrome used for takeoffs, landings and ground movements of aircrafts, including the maneuvering area and the apron. NPSV abbreviation for non-passenger screening vehicle. Operator means any person at the will of or exercising effective control over a motor vehicle or bicycle. Operator's Restricted Certificate means a document issued by Industry Canada certifying that the holder of such certificate is qualified to operate a radio at any land aeronautical station outfitted with radio equipment designed solely for the transmission of messages on fixed frequencies closed to public communications. Park means to stop a vehicle, whether occupied or not, and whether or not the engine is running. This expression does not apply to the emplaning and deplaning of passengers or the loading and unloading of cargo. Parking space means the portion of the apron reserved for vehicle parking and identified appropriately by means of signs and/or surface markings. Passenger transfer vehicle, PTV, means a motorized vehicle used for emplaning, deplaning and transportation of passengers. Pedestrian means a person on foot, including an invalid in a wheelchair or infant/child in a carriage. Pedestrian crossing means any portion of the apron signed as such or bearing surface markings designed to allow passengers boarding or unboarding. RAIC means Restricted Area Identity Card. Restricted area means a section of an aerodrome signed as an area to which access is limited to authorized individuals only. Roadway means a route, street, or location designed for vehicle traffic and indicated by means of a sign, surface markings or drawings on a plan. Sector Supervisor, Airport Patrol means any member of Airport Patrol charged with enforcing the law and defined as an officer under airport traffic regulations. Taxiway means that portion of an aerodrome between the apron and the runway which is used by maneuvering aircraft and airport ground equipment. Temporary pass means a document or identification device approved by ADM, issued by the APO and which authorizes the holder to access a restricted area temporarily. Threshold means the beginning of that portion of the runway which is usable for aircraft takeoffs and landings. Tool vehicle means a vehicle not mounted on a truck chassis, which has a workstation incorporated into the cab and has been designed to perform a specific task. Type D permit means a type of airside vehicle operator's permit which authorizes the holder thereof to operate a vehicle within the movement areas of the airport named on the permit. Type D/A permit means a type of airside vehicle operator's permit which authorizes the holder thereof to operate a vehicle on the airport aprons and roadways named on the permit, with the exception of maneuvering areas. Type D/A permit means a type of airside vehicle operator's permit, AVOP, which authorizes the holder thereof to operate a vehicle on the apron for the company identified on the permit and within the vehicle corridors bounded by traffic signs along the terminal building. Vehicle corridor means an exterior roadway bordered by parallel white lines painted on the apron surface and designed to guide vehicle operators. Vehicle locator transmitter, VTL, means the transmitter installed on the roof of the vehicle that emits a signal allowing to locate its exact position on the airport movement area and which displays its call sign on radar screens. Vice President, Airport Operations, Infrastructures, and Air Services Development means a person appointed to this position by ADM management or a duly authorized representative thereof. Warning device in the case of emergency vehicles, means a siren which may be accompanied by a flashing red light and, in the case of electric golf cart type vehicles used to transport mobility impaired individuals, means a horn or ember rotating or flashing light. See Object 04. This directive is designed to provide for the orderly and safe flow of aircraft, vehicles, and pedestrians within restricted areas and inside buildings. D. Scope 05. This directive applies to Montreal, Trudeau and Montreal, Mirabel International Airports. E. Responsibilities 06. ADM may issue directives and procedures, and take the appropriate measures, to ensure the sound management of traffic on the airport maneuvering area and in airport buildings. 07. ADM may amend this directive at any time, with such amendments being deemed to form an integral part hereof. All persons shall comply with this directive at all times. 08. Every company owning airside vehicles shall be familiar with the provisions of this directive, and ensure that their personnel are familiar with them. Every company shall ensure that its personnel are in possession of the class of permits required to operate their vehicles safely and that they correctly use the equipment essential to the exercise of their duties. 09. All employers shall ensure that their vehicles comply with the requirements set out in this directive. 10. Every vehicle present in a controlled area of the maneuvering area shall be equipped with a radio vehicle locator transmitter, VLT, except for vehicles that are part of a convoy, e.g. as part of construction work. Vehicles without VLTs, including those that need to join or leave a convoy, must be escorted by a vehicle equipped with a VLT, otherwise they will be denied any movement by the controllers, NAV Canada and AMS. 11. All vehicle operators shall, a. be fully cognizant of the rules and procedures set out in this directive, and b. hold all the required permits prior to operating a motor vehicle in a restricted area. This rule also applied to drivers engaged in taxiing aircrafts which are not in the preparatory phase of takeoff, or post-landing phase. Note that electric vehicles for mobility impaired passengers are not subject to such permits. 12. Any person found to be in violation of this directive shall be liable to the administrative penalties provided for in Chapter 9 of this directive and/or penal prosecution under the airport traffic regulations. 13. All requests for information regarding this directive, whether pertaining to Montreal, Trudeau or to Montreal, Mirabel, shall be forwarded to the following address: Chief, Administration and Permits Office, Airport Patrol, Aéroports de Montréal, 975 Romeo Vaucan Boulevard, Suite 317, Dorval, Quebec, H4Y1H1. 2. Vehicle Operation A. Basic Conditions 2.01. Subject to the other provisions set out herein, a person may operate a motor vehicle in a restricted area provided that he/she satisfies the following basic conditions. A. The person holds all valid licenses and permits of the proper class or classes as required by law in the province of Quebec to operate the vehicle in question. B. The person must have in his possession the original documents required by 2.01. C. the vehicle is registered and equipped pursuant to the laws in force in the province of Quebec. D. The person satisfies all requirements set out in this directive. And E. The vehicle respects all requirements set out in this directive. 02 For the purposes of this directive, a provincial vehicle registration certificate shall be deemed prima facie proof of vehicle ownership. B. Compliance with applicable laws and regulations. 03 The operation of a vehicle in a restricted area is governed in particular by the Airport Traffic Regulations, ATR, which must be respected at all times. C. Registration and permits. 04 No person shall operate a vehicle in a restricted area if such vehicle is not registered pursuant to the laws of the province of Quebec and registered with the APO in compliance with Chapter 3 hereof. In addition, the vehicle must be equipped with VLT and assigned with a radio call sign if he intends to circulate on the maneuvering area. See Section E, Traffic Regulations, Paragraph 2. 12 of this directive. 05A, no person shall operate a vehicle airside if the operator is not in possession of an airside vehicle operator's permit, AVOP, issued in accordance with the provisions set out in Chapter 4 hereof. B. Whenever operating a vehicle airside, the vehicle operator shall have in his possession his RAIC, AVOP, provincial driver's license and radio telephone operator's certificate, as the case may be. C. If said vehicle operator is in training, he shall have in his possession his RAIC, temporary permit, AVOP application form, stamped by the APO, valid 6 months, provincial driver's license and radio telephone operator's certificate, as the case may be. The vehicle operator in training must be escorted in the vehicle by the holder of a valid RAIC and the appropriate and valid AVOP permit. He shall never operate the vehicle alone with a temporary permit. D. Signage. 06 Aeronautical signage standards adopted by ADM are those recommended by the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. 07 Airside road signage standards are based on the Highway Safety Code of the Province of Quebec. 08 The vehicle operators shall comply with aeronautical and road signage in place. 09 The following appendixes form integral parts of this directive. A. Appendix A Certificate of Insurance. B. Appendix B Plan of Operations in Reduced and Low Visibility Conditions. C. Appendix C Airport Maps. D. Appendix D Phonetic Alphabet. E. Appendix E Phonic Techniques. F. Appendix F Surface Markings. G. Appendix G Edge Lighting. H. Appendix H Airside Traffic Signs. E. Traffic Regulations. 10 Article 10 of the ATR shall not apply to A. Emergency vehicles responding to an emergency, and B. Maintenance vehicles when authorized by Apron Control, AMS. 11 The driver of a vehicle in a restricted area shall comply with the traffic instructions provided by Airport Patrol, Apron Control, AMS, and NAV Canada Ground Control. 12 It is the responsibility of the vehicle owner to ensure that the vehicle is equipped with a VLT and that a radio call sign has been assigned if he intends to circulate on the maneuvering area. This process is made through the APO. See Section 3 Vehicle Registration, B. Responsibilities, Paragraph 3. 02, of this directive. 13 When operating a vehicle in a restricted area, the operator shall, upon request from a member of Airport Patrol, provide the following: A. All airside vehicle operators permits issued by virtue hereof. B. His valid provincial driver's license. C. His restricted radio telephone operator's certificate. D. The provincial vehicle registration certificate. E. His security components. 14 Any operator of a road vehicle involved in an accident shall, A. Remain on the scene or return thereto immediately following the accident, and assist any persons having sustained injury. And, B. Report the accident immediately to Airport Patrol. 15 The use of tire chains and studded tires shall be authorized during the period from October 15 to May 1. It is strictly prohibited to operate a vehicle equipped with studded tires or chains on airport runways and taxiways unless accompanied by an escort vehicle. The responsibility of the escort personnel is to carefully inspect the runway or taxiway surface and recover, as needed, any detached chain link or stud. Chains shall be removed as soon as possible, no later than 48 hours following a snowfall. Long-term use is permitted on tow tractors only. 16. Honking in any NPSV sector is prohibited. F. Parking. 17. No person shall park a vehicle in an area designated by a sign or surface marking as an area in which parking is prohibited. 18. Unless otherwise authorized by the Vice President, Airport Operations, Infrastructures, and Air Services Development, the Ground Control Unit or an apron controller, no one shall park a vehicle in a grossed airside area or any other area not intended for vehicle use. 19. No person shall leave a vehicle parked in an area designated by sign or surface markings as a. an emplaning or loading area, b. a pedestrian crosswalk, c. an aircraft stand, d. an aircraft safety area, e. an equipment staging area, f. a vehicle corridor, or g. a baggage room corridor. 20. Whenever an area is designated by a sign and / or surface marking as an area in which parking is authorized for a maximum period of time, no person shall park a vehicle in such area for a period of time greater than that indicated. 21. Whenever an area is designated by a sign and / or surface marking as an area in which parking is prohibited during certain hours, no person shall park a vehicle in such area during the hours indicated. 22. Whenever an area is designated by a sign and / or surface marking as an area in which parking is authorized within clearly marked boundaries, operators shall ensure that they park their vehicles inside such boundaries. 23. Whenever an area is designated as a parking area reserved for exclusive use by a certain category of persons or vehicles, no person shall park a vehicle in such area unless one or other of the operator or vehicle belongs to the category indicated. 24. All operators shall back their vehicles into parking areas whenever possible and practical. This requirement is particularly important in the vicinity of the terminal building, loading bridges, and other heavy traffic areas. 25. A member of Airport Patrol who finds a vehicle parked in violation of one or other of the provisions hereof may, at the expense of the owner, have the vehicle removed and parked in an appropriate place. G. Speed limits. 26. No person shall operate a vehicle in a restricted area in such a way as to endanger persons, aircraft, vehicles, or equipment, regardless of traffic density normally encountered in that area. 27. Pursuant to Section 34 of the ATR, no person shall operate a vehicle in excess of the following speeds in the following areas: a. 10 km per hour in baggage room corridors, b. 20 km per hour outside vehicle corridors on the apron at Montreal, Mirabel only, c. 20 km per hour in the Air Canada cargo area, d. 40 km per hour in vehicle corridors on the apron, e. 70 km per hour on perimeter roadways. 28. When approaching any NPSV sector, it is necessary to gradually reduce his speed, going from 50 km per hour to 30 km per hour, to reach a speed limit of 5 km per hour when circulating under the NPSV marquee. 29. The speed limits set out in paragraphs 2.27 and 2.28 shall not apply to emergency vehicles responding to an emergency. H. Harmful materials. 30. Any person who finds nails, of spikes, lumps of metal or any other debris, FOD, has an obligation to pick them up. If not, his airside vehicle operator's permit, AVOP, could be withdrawn because of neglect. I. Motor vehicle safety equipment. 31. All vehicles in a controlled portion of the movement area must be equipped with a VLT with the exception of those that are part of a convoy. 32a. Any vehicle outfitted with a cab shall be outfitted with one or more flashing or rotating amber aviation warning lights. The light, S, shall be visible by both aircraft and ground traffic within a radius of 360 degrees. All lights shall be activated whenever the vehicle is operating in a movement area. B. Fuel tankers measuring in excess of 3 5 meters in height shall be outfitted with a 360-degree strobe light on the roof of the cab. This light shall operate in tandem with the vehicle's red tail lights to provide ample indication of the vehicle's presence in a given area. C. All vehicles outfitted with a cab, whether under escort or not, shall operate with headlights and running lights in the on position at all times. 33. In the case of low visibility or night operations in an airport movement area, all vehicles shall operate with headlights and running lights, if applicable, in the on position at all times. 34. No person one shall operate a vehicle airside if the vehicle's signal or warning lights are covered with dust, dirt, or snow. 35. No vehicle shall remain momentarily stationary in an area other than a vehicle parking area, without requisite signal lights in the on position. 36. No person shall operate a vehicle or equipment airside if such vehicle or equipment is not outfitted with the requisite signal lights detailed in paragraph 2. 32. Hereof, unless escorted by a vehicle outfitted with the proper signal lights. 37. No person shall escort one or more vehicles airside unless such vehicles form a convoy. For the purposes hereof, convoy requirements shall be as follows: a. An escort positioned in front of each convoy of a maximum of 3 motor vehicles or less. b. 2 escorts, one positioned in front and one positioned at the rear of each convoy of between 4 and 6 motor vehicles. c. An escort positioned in front of each convoy of a maximum of 2 double-axle trucks. And d. 2 escorts, one positioned in front and the other positioned at the rear of each convoy of 3 or 4 double-axle trucks. 38. The operator of the escort vehicle shall ensure that all headlights and emergency flashing lights of the escorted vehicles are in the on position. 39. The operator of the escort vehicle shall ensure that all escorted vehicles remain in formation. 40. All operators of vehicles escorted airside shall respect the safety instructions provided by the operator of the escort vehicle, failing which they shall be evicted from the area. 41. All operators of self-propelled vehicles shall ensure that their vehicles are in proper working order and are outfitted with all requisite equipment, safety, or other. 42. No person shall hinder or interfere with maintenance, cleaning or snow clearing activities being conducted in movement areas. J. Vehicle operating procedures. 43. Right-of-way within airport movement areas shall be granted in the following order: a. Aircraft. b. Emergency vehicles with requisite emergency warning devices on and operating. c. Passenger transfer vehicles, PTVs. d. Vehicles towing aircraft. e. Snow clearing vehicles and equipment. f. Pedestrians. And g. Service vehicles. 44. Vehicle operators shall steer clear of areas subject to aircraft or helicopter jet engine blast or propeller wash. 45. Whenever a PTV or aircraft with engines running is being pushed back, vehicle operators shall, a. Stop his vehicle corridor and yield to the PTV or aircraft. This does not apply if a signaler gives permission to circulate or if the aircraft wheel chocks are in place. b. Yield to the aircraft and PTV being pushed back at all times. Examples of pushback signs: signaler in place, anti-collision lights lit, bridge removed, wheel chocks removed. Equipment around the aircraft has been removed. 46. The vehicles shall use the designated vehicle corridors when operating on the apron. Service vehicles shall be allowed to proceed to an aircraft stand provided that they exit the vehicle corridor at an angle of 90 degrees. All other vehicles shall request and obtain authorization from apron control to operate outside vehicle corridors and aircraft stands. 47. Vehicles operating in a vehicle corridor have priority over any vehicle seeking to enter such corridor. 48. Whenever vehicle corridors intersect, priority shall be granted to the vehicle, a. freeing an aircraft corridor, b. operating to the right in a vehicle corridor. 49. Vehicles shall be operated in the right-hand lane of the vehicle corridor. 50. Any vehicle operator entering or operating in a vehicle corridor on the apron shall yield to any moving aircraft or aircraft potentially close enough to represent an immediate danger and wait until such danger has subsided before proceeding. 51. No vehicle operator entering an apron area shall approach or cross an aircraft movement marking, except, a. at a right angle to the aircraft movement marking, or b. whenever a designated vehicle crossing point exists at that location in the vehicle corridor. K. Loading. 52. Vehicle operators shall ensure that their loads, including that of equipment under tow, are firmly secured and sufficiently covered to ensure that no part thereof can shift or separate from the vehicle or equipment under tow. L. Impaired driving. 53. It is forbidden to operate, or to assist in operating, a vehicle or any equipment fitted with a motor, or to have care or control of such vehicle or equipment, whether they are in motion or not, if one's ability to operate them is impaired by alcohol, medication, legal or illegal drugs, or any other substance that impairs a person's faculties. 3. Vehicle registration. A. General 3.01. This chapter outlines the basic rules with which all vehicle owners must comply when operating vehicles airside at Montreal, Trudeau and Montreal, Mirabel International Airports. B. Responsibilities. 02. Vehicle owners must ensure that their vehicles are equipped with VLTs before operating airside if he intends to circulate on the maneuvering area. To do this, vehicle owners acquiring such units must first contact the APO to register their vehicle, obtain a call sign and get a transponder code for their VLT unit. Units will then be programmed to associate call signs to the provided codes. Partners who are acquiring VLTs of the Era brand can have their transponder programmed by an ADM technician simply by sending a request by email to bapul@admtl.com. Note that a 2-week delay and unit programming fees are to be expected. 03. Vehicle owners shall advise the APO, without delay, of any or all changes to the information provided on airside vehicle registration applications. 04. Vehicle owners shall ensure that their vehicles comply with the requirements of this directive prior to allowing vehicles to be operated in airport movement areas. 05. All tool/equipment vehicles shall be registered provincially as well as with the APO. 06. Prior to operating a vehicle airside, owners shall submit the following documentation to the APO: a. An airside vehicle registration application, form available from the APO. And b. The original of the provincial registration certificate for the vehicle involved. The company with which the vehicle is registered shall be in possession of all manner of vehicle insurance required for airside operations, as set out in paragraph 3.10, below. 07. It is forbidden to operate a vehicle that is in improper operating condition or that, depending on the required permit type, is not equipped with a VLT and a radio. C. Inspection. 08. A member of Airport Patrol may, at all times, conduct a visual check of vehicles and equipment operating airside. Any vehicle or equipment for which the condition is deemed to represent a danger for users or the environment may be evicted from the restricted area. D. Request for registration exemption. 09. As stated in section 61 of the ATR, a vehicle owner may obtain a registration exemption in the instance of non-motor driven mobile equipment used exclusively airside. All registration exemption requests shall be forwarded to the APO. E. Inventory. 10. A vehicle owner or the authorized signing officer of the company under which the vehicles are registered must maintain an updated list of mobile equipment. A. Adding any vehicle shall be communicated to the APO. B. Withdrawal of a vehicle shall be communicated to the APO so that the vehicle is removed from the inventory of the owner or the company under which it is registered. C. In addition, every 2 years, on the anniversary of his application date, the vehicle owner or authorized signing officer shall deliver to the APO a complete update of his inventory. F. Insurance. 11. All vehicle owners, whether physical persons or companies, seeking to register a vehicle or fleet of vehicles for operation airside shall secure and renew, at their own expense, third-party liability automobile insurance. The latter shall cover all risks relating to the operation of vehicles airside and include an overall limit of cover of no less than $10 million per event applying to physical property and the loss of use of such property, regardless of whether or not the vehicles are registered and whether or not they are operated by the owner or on behalf thereof, subject, as the case may be, to a reasonable, non-refundable deductible for property damage to be defrayed in full by the owner. When applying for vehicle registration, the owner shall submit to ADM the standard Airside Automobile Certificate of Insurance, a copy of which appears in Appendix A hereof. This certificate shall be duly completed and signed by the insurer or a duly authorized representative thereof. 12. Whenever a vehicle owner no longer complies with the prescribed insurance requirements, he/she shall be prohibited from operating his/her uninsured vehicle's airside. G. Tool/equipment vehicle. 13. All tool/equipment vehicles shall be registered provincially as well as with the APO. For example, a vehicle in a baggage room, a forklift, or a vehicle used for towing aircraft is deemed to be a tool/equipment vehicle regardless of weight. A tool/equipment vehicle that is used strictly inside a building and is never used outside is not required to be registered with the APO. 4. Airside Vehicle Operator's Permit A. General 4.01. The airside operation of a vehicle at an airport is a privilege dictated by operational needs. This chapter details the various types of airside vehicle operators' permits, terms, and conditions of issuance, individual and corporate responsibilities, as well as proficiency levels required to obtain such permits. B. Types of permits. 02. There are 3 types of airside vehicle operators' permits at Montreal, Trudeau and Montreal, Mirabel International Airports. They are, A. Type D, an airside vehicle operator's permit which authorizes the holder to operate a vehicle within the movement area of the airport set out thereon. B. Type D/A, an airside vehicle operator's permit which authorizes the holder to operate a vehicle on the airport aprons and roadways set out thereon, but not in the maneuvering area. C. Type D/AR, a restricted airside vehicle operator's permit which authorizes the holder to operate a vehicle only on the apron for the company for which the permit was issued or in the baggage sorting area. This permit prohibits the holder from operating anywhere else in the movement area. 03. Validity period of the airside vehicle operator's permit. A. An airside vehicle operator's permit is valid for a maximum period of 5 years from the date of issue, and its expiration date will coincide with the expiry date of the holder's RAIC. B. Temporary permit. The original copy of the airside vehicle operator's permit application form stamped and signed by an APO officer is valid for a period of 6 months from the date of successfully passing the written theory examination, and this document designates the temporary permit. C. Responsibilities. 04A. It is forbidden to operate a vehicle airside unless one holds a valid airside vehicle operator's permit, AVOP. B. Any temporary permit holder shall be accompanied at all times by a holder of a valid RAIC who also holds the appropriate valid AVOP. C. No employer shall allow any temporary permit holder to operate a vehicle airside alone. The holder must be accompanied in the vehicle by a holder of a valid RAIC who also holds the appropriate valid AVOP. 05. Certain vehicles require that the operator have a certain class of permit, 3, 1, or 4A, for example. To ascertain the class of a given vehicle, the operator shall refer to the Highway Safety Code of Quebec. Every operator must, at all times, be in possession of the appropriate permit for the vehicle operated. It is incumbent upon the employer to ensure that each operator holds all permits as required by this directive. 06. The employer shall familiarize the employee with the specifics of the airport site and the provisions of this before submitting an application for an AVOP to the APO. 07. Where an employee does not pass the online airside safety awareness training and the AVOP theory examination, the employer is responsible for providing that employee with the appropriate practical training for airside driving. 08. The employer or the authorized signing officer thereof shall complete and sign an airside vehicle operator's permit application form available at the APO office, or online on ADM website, under APO, in section AVOP. By signing this form, the employer specifies the type of operator's permit required and confirms that the vehicle operator, A, Is an employee required to operate a vehicle airside in the exercise of his/her duties? B. Is familiar with the airport site? And C. Satisfies the requirements set out in this directive. D. Issuance prerequisites 09. Prior to being granted the privilege of operating a vehicle airside, a person shall hold a valid unrestricted driver's license issued by a Canadian province, or a state of the United States, or be the holder of an unrestricted international driver's license. A Class 5 learner's permit does not constitute a valid driver's permit. Driver's permit other than Canada and the United States is not considered a valid permit unless accompanied by an international driver's recognized by the SAAQ. A valid, RAIC, restricted area identity card issued pursuant to the Transportation Security Clearance Program. B. Valid restricted area identity card, RAIC, issued pursuant to the Transportation Security Clearance Program. C. Restricted operator certificate with aeronautical qualification. Refer to Chapter 8, Section I of this document for details. E. Training 10. The employer shall ensure that each trainee receives the required theoretical and practical training in order to obtain the desired permit. During training, the temporary permit holder shall be accompanied by a person in possession of a valid RAIC and driver's license, ensuring that the latter is valid for the class of vehicle in question. 11. The temporary permit allows the trainee to acquire the skills necessary to operate an authorized company vehicle in a restricted area. When at the wheel, the trainee shall, a. be accompanied in the vehicle by a person in possession of all necessary restricted area security components. And, b. have with him/her the temporary permit stamped and signed by an APO agent. 12. The trainer shall be poised to assist the operator in training, to provide guidance with respect to vehicle handling and to intervene as required. F. Theoretical and practical examinations. 13. The employer shall ensure that a vehicle which complies with the standards set out in Chapter 3 hereof is made available to the operator in training for the practical part of the airside proficiency skills examination. 14. After completing the training with his/her employer, the online airside safety training program and successfully pass the theoretical examination, the operator in training shall book an appointment with the APO for the practical examination. All cancellations shall be made at least 24 hours prior to the time of the scheduled appointment, failing which, fees in the amount of $50 shall be required to schedule a second appointment. 15. The operator in training shall successfully pass the theoretical and practical examinations, it being understood that passing grades are as follows. A. Theory examination. The passing grade is 80% for the general part and 100% for the part on airside knowledge of the airport in question. The operator in training shall successfully pass all of the theory exams within a period not to exceed 6 months. B. Practical examination. The passing grade is 80%. The operator in training shall successfully pass all of the practical exams within a period not to exceed 6 months. In the event that the operator in training exceeds 6 months, he will have to take again all the theory and practical examination. 16. Anyone caught cheating during a theoretical or practical exam will have to wait 1 year before being allowed to retake them. In addition, the employer will also be required to provide a remedial plan to the APO. 17. For new applications for airside vehicle operator permit, individuals who fail either the theory or the practical exam shall be allowed to retake the examination in accordance with the following waiting periods. A. First failure, waiting period of 7 calendar days from the date of failure of the exam. B. Second failure, waiting period of 30 calendar days from the date of failure of the exam. C. Third failure, waiting period of 60 calendar days from the date of failure of the exam. D. Fourth failure, the authorized signing officer of the company shall provide to the APO setting out the reasons why an additional opportunity to retake the exam should be granted. The decision to grant a further retake rests with the APO chief. After a fourth failure to pass either the theory or the practical exam, no further opportunity will be granted. 18. To renew an airside vehicle operator's permit, the holder shall submit a new Airside Vehicle Operator's Permit application form, accompanied by a copy of his/her valid provincial driver's license, and is not required to take the exams again. 19. A holder whose Airside permit is suspended or has been inactive for a period of more than 6 months shall be required to retake all qualifying examinations, see sections 9.07 and 9.08. 20. During the practical exam, the vehicle shall be equipped with either heating or air conditioning, depending on the season. G. Administration 21. The employer or authorized signing officer shall advise the APO without delay of any change concerning such employer or the operator on behalf of whom an application was submitted for the issue of an Airside Vehicle Operator's Permit. 22. The holder of an Airside Vehicle Operator's Permit shall take all action as required to prevent the unauthorized use of such permit. The holder shall immediately advise the APO in the event that his/her permit is lost or stolen. 23. The holder of an Airside Vehicle Operator's Permit who reports his/her permit as lost or stolen, must first report the loss with the call center and then notify the APO. Following this declaration, a new permit will be issued upon payment of a $50 replacement fee to the holder. If the AVOP is found within 10 working days following the loss, half the replacement fee will be reimbursed to the holder. V. Pedestrian Traffic. A. Aircraft and Passenger Transfer Vehicle, PTV, Pushback 5.01. All pedestrians shall yield the right of way to any and all of the following vehicles: aircraft, emergency vehicle responding to an emergency, passenger transfer vehicle, PTV, snow clearing vehicle, vehicle towing an aircraft. 5.02. Other instructions applying to pedestrians appear in the Airport Traffic Regulations, ATR, Part 2, Pedestrians. 6. Movement Area, Particularities. A. Vehicle Corridors. 6.01. Vehicle operators shall come to a complete stop whenever surface markings so indicate within vehicle corridors located on the apron. Note: operators shall pay particular attention to the passenger transfer vehicle parking area. 6.02. No vehicle shall tow more than 6 baggage carts, more than 6 container carts or a combination of more than 6 of these types of carts on the apron. 6.03. No vehicle shall tow more than 5 pallet cars on the apron. 6.04. No cart shall be parked in an area other than a designated parking area. 6.05. No LD2 or LD3 type containers shall be removed from a container cart and parked unless in an area specifically designed for this purpose. B. Baggage room. 6.06. Only baggage carts, LD2 and LD3 container carts and authorized vehicles used to tow the aforementioned carts shall be allowed in the baggage rooms and baggage room vehicle corridors. 6.07. In baggage rooms, the maximum number of towable container carts is 5, and the maximum number of towable baggage carts is 4. In the case of a combination of these types of carts, the maximum number towable is 4. 6.08. The maximum speed in the baggage rooms and baggage room vehicle corridors at Montreal, Trudeau Airport is 10 km per hour. 6.09. It is prohibited to park any vehicle or cart in the vehicle corridors with the exception of areas identified and signed for this purpose. 6.10. It is prohibited to leave equipment of any nature in the vehicle corridors. 6.11. It is prohibited to enter or exit the baggage rooms other than by means of the passages identified for such purposes. 6.12. It is prohibited to leave vehicles and carts parked in the common baggage room or international arrivals baggage room unless required for an imminent baggage loading or unloading operation. 6.13. In the baggage rooms, it is prohibited to park carts and vehicles used to tow the latter outside areas identified for this purpose or outside surface marking boundaries. C. Transborder and international jetties. 6.14. The vehicle corridors running the length of the transborder and international jetties are located in front of parked aircraft, except at gates 80, 82, 84, and 86 through 89, where they run behind parked aircraft. 6. 15. A vehicle may be operated behind a parked aircraft only to move from one side to the other of the aircraft that it is servicing and shall not cross the double white line. Operating behind an aircraft to move from one gate to another is prohibited, with the exception of oversized vehicles. 6. 16. Clearance under the loading bridges is 4.15 meters. Clearance indicators have been installed so that operators can ascertain whether they have sufficient clearance to proceed under the bridges. No vehicle with overall height in excess of 4.15 meters shall be operated in said corridors. 6. 17. It is incumbent upon both the vehicle owner and operator to know the exact overall height of each vehicle. 6. 18. All vehicle operators shall obtain authorization from apron control on radio frequency 122.075 MHz if they must drive outside the corridors. 6. 19. A double solid white line running behind parked aircraft ensures that the latter are safely clear of any obstacles while moving on the maneuvering line. D. Apron areas and peripheral roadways. 6. 20. For all other peripheral airside roadways, authorization from ground control is not required, except whenever an operator seeks to enter onto a taxiway or runway from the junction of one of such roadways. In this particular instance, the operator shall request radio authorization from ground control. An operator seeking to enter the de-icing center apron shall request radio authorization from Aeromag between October 1st and April 30th. And from Montreal apron control between May 1st and September 30th. 6. 21. Access to peripheral airside roadways is restricted to persons required to use them for work-related purposes. 6. 22. Apron areas have local peculiarities with which all operators shall be familiar and have mastered prior to obtaining a Type D/A operator's permit. E. Montreal, Trudeau Airport, particularities. 6. 23. In the common parking areas located in the vicinity of the baggage rooms, motor vehicles may be parked for a maximum period of 4 hours, unless otherwise indicated. 6. 24. It is prohibited to use one or other of the international arrivals or departures baggage rooms other than for the loading and unloading of checked baggage. 6. 25. The area of taxiway Alpha between Alpha 4 and the apron is part of apron and is referred to as Alpha Mike. F. De-icing center. 6. 26. Prior to proceeding onto the Montreal, Trudeau Airport de-icing center apron or operating thereon, operators shall make the following radio contact: between October 1st and April 30th contact Aeromag on radio frequency 122.525 MHz to obtain authorization to operate on the de-icing apron. Between May 1st and September 30th contact Montreal apron control on radio frequency 122.075 MHz to obtain authorization. G. Road 636. 27. Road 630 connects the main apron to the NPSV Echo and imposes a speed limit of 70 km per hour. The ground control unit controls vehicle traffic on this road by means red traffic lights placed in pairs at each intersection in both directions. Control is conducted in the following manner: A. Flashing red lights indicate to the vehicle operator to come to a complete stop at the corresponding stop line to ensure that there is no aircraft or vehicle traffic on either side before proceeding. B. Solid red lights indicate to vehicle operator to come to a complete stop at the corresponding stop line and wait until the red lights begin to flash. When lights are flashing, the operator shall make certain that there is no aircraft or vehicle traffic on either side before proceeding. C. It is not necessary to communicate by radio with ground control to circulate on Road 630 and cross the Alpha and Alpha 4 taxiways. The same principle applies for reverse flow traffic. D. In addition to the two sets of red lights, two signs which read 630 firm, closed are installed at each end of Road 630. When these two signs are lit, it is forbidden to use Road 630. Two separate instances require activation of these signs, namely whenever the low visibility operations plan is in force or whenever runway 10/28 is in use. E. Making a U-turn or an unauthorized complete stop on road 630 is prohibited. If a driver is required to stop his vehicle, he must contact the control tower for permission. H. Plan of operations in reduced and low visibility conditions 6:28 All operators shall comply with the plan of operations in reduced and low visibility conditions, refer to Appendix B. I. Maneuvering areas 6:29 The airport maps in Appendix C demonstrate those sections of the maneuvering area with which all Type D permit holders shall be familiar with. 6:30 To operate legally in the maneuvering area, all vehicles shall be equipped with a radio transmitter with the appropriate frequencies, as well as an aviation amber rotating beacon. 6:31 Equipment on the exterior of a vehicle must be secured when the vehicle is operating on the maneuvering area, particularly an aircraft towing vehicle. No object or equipment such as cones, shims, shovels, etc. can be left without being secured by a fastening system, under penalty of a fine. 7. Operation of electric vehicles for mobility impaired passengers. A. Basic Conditions 7.01 This chapter sets out the rules pertaining to operation of electric vehicles within the airport terminal building. This type of vehicle shall be used solely for the transport of mobility impaired persons. Approval to operate such an electric vehicle shall be obtained from the Director, Operations and Airport Safety, Aéroports de Montréal before proceeding to operate it. Such approval may be withdrawn at any time. 02 Any electric vehicle shall be operated in such a way that it does not compromise user or pedestrian safety nor cause any damage to facilities or equipment. 03 Notwithstanding the other provisions set out herein, a person shall be entitled to operate an electric vehicle for mobility impaired passengers provided that he/she satisfies the following basic conditions: A. That the person holds a restricted area identity card. B. That the vehicle is identified with the company colors. 04 For the purposes of this directive and unless proven otherwise, vehicle identification by means of company colors and a permanent number shall be deemed to represent legitimate proof of vehicle ownership. B. Compliance with applicable laws. 05 The operation of an electric vehicle for mobility impaired passengers in airport buildings is governed by the Airport Traffic Regulations, ATR. C. Vehicle Identification 06 All electric vehicles for mobility impaired passengers shall be identified by means of company name, company colors, and logo. D. Signage 07 All operators of electric vehicles for mobility impaired passengers shall respect signage in place. E. Traffic Regulations 08 All operators of electric vehicles for mobility impaired passengers shall, at all times, comply, A. with the following rules and ATR provisions: A. Operate vehicles only in designated vehicle corridors. B. Yield the right of way to pedestrians at all times. C. Never exceed a maximum speed of 5 km per hour, equivalent to a fast-paced walk. D. Never cut through passenger lineups or cut off individuals on foot. E. Never load a vehicle in excess of predetermined manufacturer capacity. F. Never operate or have the care and control of the vehicle while one's ability to do so is impaired. G. Never pass another moving electric vehicle. H. Operate only on levels 2 and 3 in the transborder jetty. I. Use only the lifts next to gate 74, ASC 100, and 79, ASC 105. The lifts shall be accessed at an angle of 90 degrees. 09 Electric vehicles for mobility impaired passengers are prohibited in certain areas of the terminal building and jetties, including but not limited to the following locations: A. Transborder security checkpoints. B. U.S. Inspection Services Area, FIS. C. Baggage rooms. D. Passenger loading bridges. E. Moving walkways. F. Canadian Inspection Services Area. G. Aero key. and H. Elevators. 10. Any operator of an electric vehicle involved in an incident/accident shall, a. remain on the scene or return thereto immediately following the accident, and assist any persons having sustained injury. And, b. report the accident immediately to the ADM call center by calling 514-420-5000. F. Parking. 11. Electric vehicles for mobility impaired passengers shall be parked in the areas designated for this purpose. Operators shall ensure that the floor beneath the parked vehicles is protected by means of a carpet. When parking an electric vehicle, the brakes shall be locked, the gear shift set in neutral, if possible, and the key removed from the vehicle. G. Speed. 12. No person shall operate an electric vehicle for mobility impaired passengers in such a manner as to endanger people, equipment, or facilities. 13. The maximum operating speed shall be 5 km per hour, which is about the equivalent of a fast-paced walk. 14. During peak periods when passenger traffic within airport buildings is particularly heavy, vehicle operators shall reduce operating speed. In addition, operators shall slow when approaching doors, passenger lineups, lift entrances and exits, escalators, pedestrian staircases and moving walkways. H. Hazardous materials. 15. It is incumbent upon operators to pick up any object as may fall from their vehicle or is otherwise vehicle related. I. Operating and safety equipment. 16. All electric vehicles shall be equipped with either a flashing or rotating amber aviation warning light, the beam of which shall be visible by pedestrians within a radius of 360 degrees. This warning light shall be operational whenever the vehicle is operated inside an airport building. 17. All electric vehicles shall be equipped as follows: brakes, handbrake, horn, audible warning device, maximum of 84 decibels, rotating light, and electronic immobilizer system, ignition safety lock. 18. Authorized vehicles feature a maximum capacity of 6 occupants. J. Vehicle use. 19. Electric vehicles are designed solely for the transport of mobility impaired passengers. Use of vehicles of this nature may be prohibited inside airport buildings if the vehicles are found to be in unacceptable working order, dirty, company logo label not affixed thereto, etc. K. Vehicle registration. 20. All applications to register an electric vehicle for mobility impaired passengers shall be submitted to the APO. 8. Radio communication. A. General 8.01 Circulation on the movement areas at Montreal, Trudeau and Montreal, Mirabel International Airports is controlled. At Trudeau, traffic on the main apron is also controlled. This chapter defines the basic rules to be followed by all individuals operating a vehicle in these areas. B. Restricted Operator Certificate 02. In addition to an airside vehicle operator's permit for the airport concerned, a vehicle operator shall also be in possession of a valid Restricted Operator Certificate with aeronautical qualification. 03. Whenever an operator is required to operate on a maneuvering or movement area, he/she shall be in possession of a valid Restricted Operator Certificate with aeronautical qualification prior to being issued a Type D AVOP, and if he/she is required to operate on the apron, shall be in possession of such valid certificate prior to being issued a Type D/AVOP. 04. Any operator who, for any reason whatsoever, has his/her Restricted Operator Certificate with aeronautical qualification revoked shall advise the APO without delay. C. Communications. 05. All vehicle operators shall ensure that their radio telephone is set on the appropriate radio frequency, based on their location and intended route within the movement area, and they remain alert to communications on this frequency. 06. All vehicle operators shall contact a. the ground control unit to obtain authorization to proceed into and operate in a maneuvering area, and b. apron control whenever required to operate on the apron outside designated vehicle corridors, including when towing an aircraft. 07. With the exception of the escort vehicles, each vehicle using a VHF radio to communicate with the controller has a call sign assigned by the APO. The code is programmed in its VLT. As it appears on the screen of the controller, the driver must always use the VLT's call sign associated to the vehicle he/she uses. When there is failure of the VLT of a vehicle, the driver must use a replacement VLT and its call sign. It is therefore important that the call sign be indicated on each device. Escort companies are given several mobile VLT units by ADM to which call signs were given by the APO. Officers of escort companies that use one of these units must use the call sign of the borrowed VLT identified for this purpose. A register is maintained by escort companies in order to link the VLT to its user. 08 Whenever requesting radio authorization, vehicle operators shall provide information as follows: A. Call sign of control unit called Montreal Ground, Montreal Apron, Mirabel Radio, or Aeromag. B. Vehicle call sign. C. Exact position. And D. Exact destination. 09 Vehicle operators shall always fully acknowledge receipt of instructions received from the Ground Traffic Control Unit or Apron Control. 10 To proceed to destination, the vehicle operator shall follow the instructed route. If in doubt, the operator shall verify instructions. 11 Whenever a vehicle operator is instructed to hold short of a runway or taxiway, or is awaiting authorization to cross or operate on such runway or taxiway, he/she shall bring his/her vehicle to a stop no less than 61 meters, 200 feet, from the edge thereof, i.e. before the stop line painted on the ground. 12 Whenever a vehicle operator is instructed by radio to leave a runway or taxiway, he/she shall acknowledge receipt, comply with the instructions given and proceed to a location no less than 61 meters, 200 feet, off to the side of the nearest runway. The vehicle operator shall then advise the ground control unit that he or she has left the runway or taxiway and indicate his/her exact position. The same distance of 61 meters, 200 feet, must be observed to circulate behind a plane with engines running. 13 When proceeding along a runway, all operators shall immediately proceed off such runway whenever the ground control unit flashes the white lights bordering the runway in question. 14 In addition to ground control or apron control radio authorization, vehicle operators shall always conduct a visual check to be certain not to interfere with an aircraft approaching the route on which they have been given permission to proceed. 15 Whenever an aircraft is under tow, A. The vehicle towing the aircraft shall remain in constant radio contact with the ground control unit or apron control, depending on vehicle location. B. Depending on vehicle location, maintaining radio contact is mandatory and may be performed by an individual located in the cockpit of the aircraft provided that ongoing radio contact is maintained with the tow vehicle operator. D. Frequencies used. 16 frequencies in force at Montreal airports are as follows: A. Montreal, Trudeau International Airport, 121. 9 MHz for Montreal Ground, East Sector 121. 0 MHz for Montreal Ground, West Sector, 122. 0.75 MHz for Montreal Apron, 122. 525 MHz for De-icing Center, Aeromag, 123. 0.17 MHz for SGAT Emergency Frequency B, Montreal, Mirabel International Airport, 121. 8 MHz for Mirabel Radio, 122. 4 MHz for Unicom, Non-Controlled Apron, 122. 575 MHz for De-icing Center, Aeromag 17. All vehicle owners shall ensure that the radio telephone in each vehicle operates on the frequencies used at the airport in question. 18. All vehicles required to contact the ground control unit or apron control should be, A. Equipped with a radio telephone in proper working order with reception covering the entire airport territory. B. Operated by a person in possession of a valid AVOP and a radio telephone operator's restricted certificate. 19. It is incumbent upon the escort vehicle operator to obtain all necessary authorizations from the ground control unit. 20. A call sign is assigned to each vehicle licensed to operate within the maneuvering areas. The call sign comprises a name and a number and shall both be stated in full upon each radio communication transmission made by a vehicle operator. The assignment of call signs is the responsibility of the APO. E. Breakdowns. 21. In the event of a vehicle breakdown, the vehicle operator shall immediately advise the ground control unit, depending upon location. The vehicle operator shall provide his/her exact location, the nature of the breakdown and the type of assistance required. 22. In the event of the simultaneous breakdown of a vehicle operating in a maneuvering area and the vehicle's radio telephone, the vehicle operator shall leave both running and warning lights in the on position and, if practicable, push the vehicle as far off the runway as possible. 23. In the event of the breakdown of a radio telephone while on the maneuvering area, the operator shall turn his/her vehicle to face the control tower and flash the vehicle lights. The ground control unit shall reply using the following standard light signals: A. Flashing green light, you may cross. B. Solid red light, stop. Hold your position. C. Flashing red light, leave the runway. D. Flashing white light, return to starting point. 24. In the event of the breakdown of a radio telephone, the vehicle operator shall come to a complete stop at each runway intersection, request and receive permission to continue, flashing green light, before proceeding. F. Phonetic alphabet. 25. Whenever required to spell out sequences for the purposes of clarity of radio telephone communications, operators shall use the ICAO phonetic alphabet which appears in Appendix D. G. Standard words and procedures. 26. The use of current or informal terms and expressions, such as OK, or present-day slang is prohibited. A series of standard phrases and phraseology used in aeronautics communications are set out in Appendix E. Language employed shall be clear, concise, and accurate. H. Prohibitions. 27. Communications shall be restricted to authorized radio telephone messages only. Unwanted signals are prohibited. Profane, obscene, or coarse language is forbidden. 28. It is prohibited to transmit or cause to be transmitted a false or fraudulent message, call or distress signal. 29. It is prohibited to cause interference or otherwise obstruct radio telephone communications. 30. Whenever using a radio telephone, the operator shall protect communication confidentiality and in no case reveal the content of any communication unless authorized to do so. I. Obtaining a radio telephone operator's certificate. 31. To obtain a restricted operator's certificate with aeronautical qualification, candidates shall, A. Be holders of a valid provincial driver's license. B. Be holders of a valid restricted area identity card, RAIC. C. Submit an application for an airside vehicle operator's permit by duly completing the proper form and having the latter signed by the authorized signing officer of the company. And D. Successfully pass the Type D or D/A permit theoretical examination. 32. The restricted operator's certificate is issued by Industry Canada and may be requested through the APO by candidates submitting an application for a Type D or D/A AVOP. 33. For further details, visit Industry Canada's website at http://ic.gc.ca/intro.html9. Enforcement Procedure A. General 9.01. This chapter describes the administrative measures that may be initiated against any person who violates any provision of the RATD. B. Measures 02. It is forbidden to violate any provision of the RATD, and any such violation constitutes an infraction. 03. When found to have violated a provision of the RATD, operators shall be subject to eviction from the restricted area, with or without their vehicle, in instances such as the following: A. Vehicle deemed to represent a danger for others or the environment. B. Vehicle not authorized by the Vice President, Airport Operations, Infrastructures, and Air Services Development. C. Operator not authorized by the Vice President, Airport Operations, Infrastructures, and Air Services Development. 04. When an operator is found to have violated a provision of the RATD, the vehicle may be towed, in instances such as the following: a. The vehicle is parked in a location where parking is prohibited. Or, b. The vehicle is not an authorized vehicle and cannot be moved. 05 When an operator is found to have violated a provision of the RATD, their AVOP shall be immediately confiscated, when a. The operator is not in possession of a valid provincial driver's license. b. The operator's AVOP has expired. c. The operator is operating in an area other than the area for which his/her AVOP was issued. d. The operator fails to retrieve nails, spikes, metal fragments or other debris, FOD. e. The operator operates or assists in operating a vehicle or any equipment fitted with a motor, or has care or control of such vehicle or equipment, whether they are in motion or not, when their ability to operate them is impaired by alcohol, medication, legal or illegal drugs, or any other substance that impairs a person's faculties. 06 When an operator is found to have violated a provision of the RATD, their AVOP may be suspended or revoked as follows: a. First offense, suspension of the AVOP for a period of 7 days, depending on the severity of the offense. b. Second offense, suspension of the AVOP for a period of 15 days, depending on the severity of the offense. c. Third offense, suspension of the AVOP for a period of 30 days or complete revocation of the permit, depending on the severity of the offense. d. Fourth offense, the operator shall be required to meet with a disciplinary committee, the membership of which is determined by Aéroports de Montréal, and shall be subject to full revocation of their AVOP, or suspension thereof for a period of time to be determined by the committee. Administration penalties for an offense leading to the suspension or revocation of an AVOP are based on the gravity of the offense committed. 07 An operator shall be required to retake the practical examination when the AVOP permit has been a. Expired more than 6 months ago. b. Suspended following a decision taken by the Chief, APO. 08 An operator shall be required to retake the theory examination when the temporary permit stamp 6 months has expired. 09 An operator shall be required to retake both the theory and practical examinations in the following instances: a. His/her AVOP expired over 1 year ago. b. His/her AVOP was suspended, following a decision taken by the Chief, APO. 10 In conformity with Section 404, where an operator is stopped airside operating a vehicle without an AVOP, a. 1 For a first offense for driving airside without an AVOP, the operator shall have their RAIC confiscated immediately for a period of 15 days. a. 2 For a second offense for driving airside without an AVOP, the operator shall have their RAIC confiscated for a period of 30 days. 11 In the event that the owner of an electric vehicle or one of its representatives or employees is found to be in violation of Section 7 Operation of Electric Vehicles for Mobility Impaired Passengers, Aéroports de Montréal reserves the right to withdraw, at any time and without notice or deadline, authorization to operate such vehicle. 12 Each notice of verdict received from the Ministry of Justice of Quebec and bearing the indication of guilty shall be forwarded to the offender's employer. Furthermore, the AVOP shall be suspended for a period of up to 2 years where the operator has been found guilty of an offense, and may be revoked where the operator has been found guilty of 2 or more violations. See conditions for retaking of exams under Sections 9.07 and 9.08, above. 13 It is forbidden to alter or modify in any manner whatsoever an AVOP permit issued under this directive. The holder at fault will be subject to administrative penalties up to and including the complete revocation of the right to obtain an airside vehicle operator's permit, at Aéroports de Montréal. Appendix C, Airport Maps. Knowledge of the airside maps on the following pages is fundamental and an operational necessity for all vehicle operators. Montreal, Trudeau A, Maneuvering and Traffic Areas B, Service Areas C, Holding Points Montreal, Mirabel A, Maneuvering and Traffic Areas B, Service Areas. Appendix D, Phonetic alphabet letter word pronunciation: A alpha B bravo OHC Charlie Charlie D delta delta E echo echo F foxtrot FOKS trot G golf H hotel HOH tel I India India J Juliet Julie ETTK kilo L Lima M Mike N November No VEM Burrow Oscar OSSCAHP Papa Q Quebec KEH Beck R Romeo S Sierra Sierra T Tango U Uniform V Victor W Whiskey X X-ray Y Yankee Z Zulu Note, syllables written in capitals in the above list must be emphasized. Number pronunciation 0 0 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 5 5 5 6 6 7 7 8 8 9 9 Note, 1. For numbers as well, syllables written in capitals must be emphasized. For example, the two syllables which make up the digit 0, zero, are both stressed, whereas for the number 4, only the first syllable is stressed. 2. Each digit of each number, with the exception of whole thousands, shall be pronounced separately. Multiples of 1,000 shall be transmitted by pronouncing each digit followed by the word thousand. Examples: number pronunciation 10 10 75 75 100 100 583 583 12000 2000 38143 381433. Numbers with decimals shall be pronounced as follows: number pronunciation 118. 1118.1465. 2125 465 2125. Appendix E, Phonic Techniques Standard Words and Expressions. Words or expressions meaning acknowledge, let me know that you have received and understood the message. Affirmative yes, or permission granted. Confirm, is my version correct? Correction: an error has been made in the transmission, or message indicated. The correct version is. How do you read? Can you hear and understand me? I say again, I shall now repeat my instructions for clarification. Negative no, or permission not granted, or that is not correct, or I do not agree. Read back, repeat all of this message back to me exactly as received after I have given over. Do not use the word repeat. Roger, I have received all of your last transmission. Say again, repeat all or the following part of your transmission. Do not use the word repeat. Speak slower indicates that you are speaking too quickly and that your message is difficult to understand. Stand by, wait and listen. I shall call you again. Verify, check text with originator and send correct version. What is your message request? Repeat or specify the nature of your message or request. Hold short, remain at a safe distance of approximately 200 feet from an intersection. Hold a beam means vis-a-vis. Standard phraseology. Standard phraseology has been developed to transmit authorizations, instructions, and messages efficiently using as few words as possible. The aim being to minimize the risk of misunderstanding. Below are some examples involving Montreal ground and / or apron control. A. Authorization request and response. Vehicle operator, Montreal ground, vehicle call sign, ground control, vehicle call sign, Montreal ground. Vehicle operator, vehicle call sign, from, starting point, to, destination, ground control, vehicle call sign, proceed to, location. If authorization to proceed is denied, response from ground control will begin with negative. For example, ground control, vehicle call sign, negative. Hold your position. B. Authorization request when accompanying a non-radio equipped vehicle. Vehicle operator, Mirabel radio, vehicle call sign, +1, request permission to proceed from, starting point, to, destination. It is necessary to use the expression +1 or +2, etc. to indicate to ground control the number of vehicles in the convoy. C. Sample instructions from ground control tower. Proceed to runway 10 to 28 for inspection. Advise when off runway. Tower, hold short of runway 06. Tower, truck 83. Ground control. Leave runway, runway number, at, location, and advise when off runway. D. Radio check communications vehicle operator, Montreal apron, staff 27, radio check. Montreal apron, staff 27, Montreal apron, radio check, or Montreal apron, staff 2 even, Montreal apron. Staff 27, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Montreal apron, read U5. Phraseology, Learner's Guide. This section is intended to facilitate the learning of standard radio transmission phraseology used in airport maneuvering areas and forms the basis of the practical test candidates must successfully pass to obtain a Type D or D/Airside vehicle operator's permit for towing. The following principles and statements are meant to be adapted to actual operator locations and situations. Prior to initiating transmission, the caller shall make certain that he/she is not interrupting a transmission already in progress. The caller shall, at all times, listen for radio transmissions in progress and be ready to respond to instructions, expected or unexpected, from the control unit. Each digit of each number shall be pronounced separately. Example, 500 equals 500, 38,143 equals 38143. However, if the number consists of 4 or more digits, the last 3 of which are zeros, pronunciation is as follows: 3000 equals 3000, not 3000. 12,000 equals 1. 2000 initial call. The initial call always begins with station called identification followed by caller identification. Staff 656 seeks to communicate with the control tower at Montreal, X. Montreal ground. Staff 656 Staff 656 seeks to communicate with apron control, X. Montreal apron. Staff 656. After the initial call, Montreal ground can be shortened to just ground. Subsequent transmissions. All subsequent transmissions shall begin with station called identification, followed by caller identification and purpose of the transmission. Example, Montreal ground, Staff 656, from Exec Air to Air Canada base. Staff 656, Montreal ground, proceed on Romeo, hold short of runway 24 left. Montreal ground, Staff 656, hold short of runway 24 left. Staff 656, Montreal ground, cross runway 24 left, proceed on Alpha to base. Montreal ground, Staff 656, cross runway 24 left, proceed on Alpha to base. In short, a request to proceed from point A to point B may include up to 6 call components. Initial call 1. Station called X. Montreal ground 2. Calling station X. Staff 656 subsequent contact 3. Station called X. Montreal ground 4. Calling station X. Staff 656 5. Exact identification of starting point, where I am, using prepositions such as X. On Alpha Charlie, or from, on, or at, as the case may be on main apron short of Echo 6. Exact identification of destination, X. To main apron, where I am going using the preposition to X. To road 310 other examples. Montreal ground, Staff 656 Staff 656, ground apron, Staff 656, from North 1 to Foxtrot. Montreal ground, Staff 656 Staff 656, Montreal ground, Staff 656, on apron, short of Echo, to road 310. Important note: controllers will always specify whether one may cross a runway or taxiway, or whether one must hold short of a runway or taxiway. Thus, an instruction such as proceed on Echo never implies an authorization to cross runway 10 to 28 or runway 06L24R. If specific mention cross runway XX is not included in an authorization, one must hold short of the runway. When in doubt, always request confirmation from the controller. Readback restrictions issued by the control unit shall be read back in full upon receipt. Examples: 1. Montreal Ground, ADM 23 ADM 23, Montreal Ground ADM 23, short of Romeo on Road 500, to Air Canada Base ADM 23, proceed on Romeo, hold short of runway 24 left ground, ADM 23, cross runway 28 and contact apron on other side 2. Montreal Ground, Staff 656, short of Romeo on Road 500, to Air Canada Base Staff 656, ground. Negative, standby ground, Staff 656, standing by clear calls whenever an operator clears a runway, taxiway, or apron, he or she is required to advise the control unit. Ground, Staff 656, clear of runway 24 left, on Alpha. Appendix F, Surface Markings General F. 01 Surface markings are used to guide aircraft and vehicle traffic within airport movement areas. The present appendix describes and illustrates the markings used, markings with which all vehicle operators shall be familiar. Line colors F. 02 The following 4 colors are used to indicate the type of surface marking. A. Yellow lines are used for aircraft movements. B. Red lines are used to define aircraft safety, and red dashed lines delimit the no parking areas. C. White lines are used to define vehicle corridors and ground service equipment standby areas, staging, and for runway markings. D. Double white lines are used to distinguish aircraft traffic areas from vehicle parking areas and corridors. E. Blue lines are used to define vehicle parking spaces. Taxiways and apron F. 03 There are 2 different types of mandatory stops painted on the surface. A. A red rectangle with a white outline. B. A red octagon, with a white outline, illustrating 2 white aircrafts in the center. This sign indicates to the driver that he is about to cross a taxiway or guide line. F. 04 Guidelines and surface markings. A. Yellow lines are used to guide aircraft movement. By maintaining the nose wheel on the line, the pilot and/or tow crew ensures that the wings of the aircraft remain a safe distance from any known obstacles, buildings, light standards, etc., and other aircraft at all times. These lines appear as follows. A1 Aircraft movement guidelines are single solid yellow lines and are found on the apron as well as airport taxiways. Les paramètres nécessaires sont manquants aux erreurs. A2 hold lines comprise 2 solid plus 2 broken yellow lines across the width of a taxiway, at the edge of a runway. All aircraft and vehicles shall come to a complete stop behind the solid lines and shall obtain authorization from the ground control unit. Les paramètres nécessaires sont manquants aux erreurs. B. Each end of the runway is marked by a number, in tens of degrees, corresponding to the runway heading in relation to a magnetic compass. For example, the magnetic compass of an aircraft will read 240 degrees when an aircraft lines up with the center line of the runway bearing the number 24. The numbers are painted in white and are designed to be legible on approach. When there are 2 parallel runways, they are identified by the number corresponding to the compass direction and one or other of the letter R, right, or L, left, painted beneath the number. C. The center line of the runway is marked by a broken white line comprising series of smaller lines 100 feet in length and spaced 100 feet apart. Movement guidelines runway center line D. Threshold markings indicate the beginning of the usable portion of a runway for the landing of aircraft and comprise a series of white lines parallel to the edge of the runway. Their number and number of groups vary in accordance with the width of the runway. Les paramètres nécessaires sont manquants aux erreurs. E. The runway threshold may, for whatever reason, be displaced from the end of the runway. In instances of the like, white lines are painted close together to form arrows pointing to a solid bar painted across the runway to indicate the beginning of the portion of the runway usable by aircraft. F. The broken white line indicates to the pilot that he is approaching a taxiway. G. pushback and slash or hold points on the Trudeau apron are identified by means of square yellow markings inside a black square with a yellow border, painted on the ground. These squares may bear a number from 1 to 11, a letter, or a combination of the two. Displaced threshold markings. Appendix G, Edge Lighting General G. 01 Edge lighting is an important component of airside signage at an airport. All vehicle operators are required to know what the different lights mean to avoid proceeding into a restricted area, and to know how to use these lights to guide vehicle movement within the airport maneuvering areas. Types of lights G. 02 Different colored edge lights are used. American Samoa follows. A. Blue lights are used to mark the edges of aprons and taxiways. B. Amber lights are used at the intersection of aprons and taxiways. C. Red lights mean entry is forbidden without prior authorization. D. White lights are used to mark the edges of runways. E. Double-sided lights, one red and the other green, are used to mark the ends of runways. The red side faces onto the runway while the green faces in the direction of the approach thereto. F. White lights and white-red lights set into the runway pavement along the guideline indicate the touchdown zone and runway center line. G. Runway guard lights, flashing amber lights used to protect access to all runways. H. See below, Surface Traffic Guidance System. Surface Traffic Guidance System G. 03 A surface traffic guidance system is used at Montreal, Trudeau, mainly in low visibility conditions. The principal components of the system are as follows: A. Stop bars, red lights set into runway 06L/24R and protecting access to it. No person shall proceed beyond the stop bars without prior authorization from the control unit. B. Intersection lights, amber lights set into the taxiway indicate that one is approaching another taxiway and serve as a hold point. C. Center line lights, green lights set into the runway and designed to guide aircraft. Legend blue lights, white lights, amber lights, double-sided lights, taxiway guide lights, stop bar. Appendix H, Airside Traffic Signs General H. 01 All vehicle operators seeking to obtain an airside vehicle operator's permit shall be familiar with the meaning of all airside traffic signs. Vehicle corridors H. 02 Traffic signs used airside and in vehicle corridors on the apron are generally the same as those used on provincial public roadways in Canada. H. 03 The following traffic sign indicates the end of the taxiway for the D/AR permit on the apron. This one applies for the all staff and NG companies. Maneuvering areas H. 04 The signs used in maneuvering areas serve to convey information or instructions, depending on their location, shape, color, and position, as well as the use of symbols, letters, and slash or numbers. 1. Runway designator sign indicates that one must hold short of the runway ahead. The number indicated on the sign is the number of the runway ahead. Les paramètres nécessaires sont manquants aux eurons. 2. Designator signs indicate a position, direction, destination, or runway exit. A. Yellow lettering on a black background indicates the taxiway on which the vehicle is proceeding or stopped. B. Black lettering on a yellow background indicates the direction of an upcoming taxiway or runway.